The final buzzer had barely faded before Caitlin Clark's next play was already in motion. While her teammates were still wrapping up postseason interviews, Clark was sealing her first major off-court deal of the offseason. Not another endorsement, not a sneaker drop, but something far more lucrative, a high-profile corporate speaking engagement. Scheduled for October 29, 2025, at the Long Island Association's Fall Luncheon, the event instantly became one of the most talked-about bookings in women's sports. This wasn't a fan meet and greet or a casual Q&A. It was a premium executive event where CEOs, business leaders, and investors discuss multi-million-dollar deals over champagne and networking. To the average fan, that might sound like just another calendar date. But to anyone paying attention to the business side of sports, it was a statement. Clark wasn't just showing up to talk about basketball, she was walking into a new industry entirely, one where her words carry just as much value as her jump shot. When the Long Island Association announced the keynote, it sent ripples through both sports and corporate circles. Here was a 23-year-old rookie-turned phenomenon being treated not as an athlete, but as an enterprise. And this time, the audience wouldn't be cheering from courtside seats. They'd be nodding from leather chairs in a ballroom filled with money, influence, and opportunity. Think about the timing for a moment. The WNBA season had just ended. Most players were packing bags, resting, or heading overseas for secondary income. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, was already moving on to the next stage, literally. It's a move that reveals something about how she thinks. She doesn't wait for opportunities to appear, she creates them. For the WNBA's biggest new star, the offseason isn't downtime, it's prime time. And that's what makes this story so fascinating. Because when Caitlin Clark grabs a microphone, she's not just speaking, she's sending a message that's reshaping what it means to be a professional athlete in 2025. The story really explodes when you see the numbers. Reports began circulating that Caitlin Clark's virtual speaking fee, yes, virtual, starts at around $100,000 per appearance. Let that sink in. A 30-minute Zoom call could earn her what the average WNBA player makes in an entire season. That figure first surfaced from a CEO's LinkedIn post praising her professionalism and transformative impact. The post vanished quickly, but the number stuck, and suddenly Clark's speaking rate became a headline. While some doubted it, insiders knew. When corporate America wants a cultural icon to speak about leadership, pressure, and performance, the check clears fast. But this isn't a random side hustle, it's part of a calculated strategy. Corporate stages give Clark something the WNBA never could: global reach without a whistle. The audience isn't 1,000 fans screaming her name. It's 100 executives who can change industries with one handshake. Every appearance boosts her brand value, strengthens her network, and opens doors athletes used to dream about. In just one offseason, Clark has quietly built the foundation of a multi-million-dollar personal empire. And she's doing it without stepping off the moral high ground. And before we go any deeper, if you're new here and want more behind-the-scenes breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button right now. Seriously. Most people will scroll past, but if you're the kind who wants to understand the business moves shaping modern sports, you belong here. Drop a like so YouTube knows this content matters, and let us know in the comments. Is Caitlin Clark's $100,000 fee genius or overhyped? Because in a minute, we'll break down exactly why corporations are fighting to get her on stage. Corporations don't throw six figures at athletes just for being good at their sport. They invest in symbols. And Caitlin Clark, at this point, is a symbol of leadership, confidence, and market power. She's the athlete CEOs actually listen to. She's not just telling highlight stories. She's explaining how she built focus, discipline, and performance under pressure, lessons that mirror what every executive team wants to master. It's not about basketball anymore. It's about psychology, branding, and influence. When she speaks, it's not noise. It's data-driven storytelling from someone who turned a college program into a national phenomenon. The appeal runs deeper than her statistics. It's her composure. Clark walks into interviews, press conferences, and public appearances with the same calm intensity that made her a must-watch athlete. She's never messy, never unprepared, and never off-message. To a corporate audience, that's the definition of a brand-safe investment. She's not controversial, she's commercially magnetic. And that's why the world of keynote speaking, a space once dominated by business moguls and retired legends, is suddenly opening its doors to a 23-year-old point guard from Iowa. This is the new model of athlete entrepreneurship, one where your storytelling is just as valuable as your skill set. Caitlin Clark doesn't need to chase endorsements anymore. She is the endorsement. Every time a company puts her on stage, they're not just paying for inspiration, they're paying for alignment. They want to stand next to the person who's redefining what women's sports can look like. And that's a rare kind of leverage that no collective bargaining agreement can control. While the rest of the league debates travel stipends and off-season leagues, Clark is building wealth with zero physical risk. Other players spent months talking about Unrivaled, the new player-run 3-on-3 league co-founded by Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart. It's flashy, it's ambitious, and it promises more pay. But even with big names behind it, the math still doesn't touch what Clark is doing. Unrivaled might pay tens of thousands per appearance. Clark earns that by walking into a room wearing a blazer and talking for 40 minutes. That's efficiency, the kind the business world respects. The brilliance of Clark's approach lies in how sustainable it is. Speaking events don't age your knees. They don't require training camps or long flights. They just require value. And she's mastered that currency. Each gig expands her network beyond the sports bubble. She's now in conversations with executives who run banks, tech firms, and media companies. The kind of relationships that transform athletes into entrepreneurs. What Clark's building is not a brand tied to a jersey. It's a brand tied to her voice. And that lasts a lot longer than a highlight reel. This also puts the WNBA in an awkward position. The league depends on its stars to drive media attention, but Clark's rise has created a paradox. The more independent she becomes, the less control the league has over her image. When one player's name brings in more headlines than the league itself, the balance of power starts to shift. And that shift, it's just beginning. Every era of sports has one player who redefines where the spotlight shines. For men's basketball, it was Jordan. For tennis, it was Serena. For the WNBA, it's now Caitlin Clark. When she plays, ratings triple. When she talks, clips trend globally. That's not hype. It's economics. Her presence boosts viewership, merchandise, sponsorships, even ticket sales for opposing teams. So when corporations book her, they're not just buying a speaker, they're renting the gravity of her name. The return on that investment is instant visibility and credibility. Behind closed doors, executives know something the league is still catching up to. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA's entire marketing engine. When she's on screen, the league becomes national news. When she's off, the buzz fades within hours. That level of influence is both powerful and dangerous. It forces sponsors to ask a question the WNBA never wanted to hear. Do we need the league's logo, or do we just need her name? And once that question starts circulating, the business model starts to tremble. Meanwhile, players like Angel Reese, talented, marketable, charismatic, find themselves stuck in a narrative they didn't choose. They want the spotlight too, but the reality is brutal. Caitlin Clark owns it, and she earned it. Not through drama or social media wars, but through performance and positioning. She's not chasing attention, she's monetizing it. Now, let's talk about the rivalry the internet can't stop dissecting. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. The two have become unofficial foils in a storyline bigger than the game itself. The media plays it up, the fans love it, and every time one trends, the other's name follows. Recently, rumors surfaced claiming Angel Reese raised her speaking fee to match Clark's, the now infamous $100,000 mark. But when you check the actual Speaker Bureau listings, that number isn't confirmed. It's speculation, not evidence. Still, perception matters. And in the age of viral narratives, perception often becomes reality. But here's the uncomfortable truth. This rivalry exists mostly because it sells. Every tweet, every reaction, every podcast mentioning their names together keeps both relevant. Angel has leaned into personality and charisma. Caitlin leans into performance and results. Two different brands, two different strategies, both competing for the same currency, influence. But when one of them is turning corporate speaking into an entire business vertical, It's hard to deny who's currently ahead. The smarter players will watch what Clark is doing and take notes. Because what she's building isn't just personal wealth, it's proof of concept. She's showing that female athletes don't have to rely solely on league paychecks or endorsement crumbs. They can become the brand, build their own platforms, and write their own rules. Angel Reese might be a rival on the court, but off it? Caitlin Clark is running an entirely different game. What Clark has achieved so far is independence. True, unfiltered, business-class independence. She doesn't wait for permission to grow. She's not lobbying the league for better marketing. She's marketing herself. And the world is responding. Each speaking deal gives her a platform that transcends basketball. She's not talking about stats. She's talking about leadership, mindset, and resilience. That's the kind of content CEOs pay consultants to deliver. And she's living proof of it. It's not just impressive, it's disruptive. The WNBA's internal dynamics have never faced a player like this before. The league wants to champion equality and unity, but it's built on a system that assumes all players need the same platform. Caitlin Clark breaks that assumption. She doesn't need the system anymore, the system needs her. Every time she trends, the WNBA gets a free marketing boost. Every time she signs a deal, the league gains credibility it didn't earn. But the risk is obvious. If Clark ever decides to step away, even for a season, ratings could collapse overnight. And maybe that's what real power looks like. It's not about controlling the game. It's about controlling your narrative. Caitlin Clark doesn't argue about fairness. She proves value through action. While others chase recognition, she's busy building legacy. And that's why every corporate booking, every keynote stage, every quiet business meeting matters. Because with each one, she's writing a new rulebook for what an athlete can become in the digital age. So here's the reality. One 30-minute speech now equals an entire WNBA salary. One conversation with executives can do more for her brand than a whole season's worth of highlight reels. That's not exaggeration, it's economics. Caitlin Clark has cracked the formula that every athlete secretly dreams of. Less grind, more growth. She's proving that you don't have to wait for the league to value you. You can define your own worth, your own stage, and your own future. It's also a wake-up call for everyone else in women's sports, because Clark isn't just collecting checks. She's opening doors that were locked for decades. She's showing young athletes that the real game starts after the final whistle. And as the WNBA wrestles with questions about visibility, pay, and power, Caitlin Clark is out there doing something none of them expected, building an economy with her name on it. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the small group that gets it. So don't just watch from the sidelines. Subscribe right now so you never miss the next breakdown. Drop a like if you think Caitlin Clark is rewriting the future of women's sports. And tell us in the comments, is she becoming too powerful for the WNBA to handle? Because one thing's for sure, this story is just getting started. And when the next chapter drops, you'll want to be here to see it unfold.